savings. And you got to see what everyone is talking about. Seriously, this place is different. Located at Ann and the 95, Centennial Subaru has built its reputation on real savings and outstanding customer service. That's why we're the fastest growing Subaru store in Southern Nevada. Stop in today and experience Centennial Subaru with great deals and great people all together.
Howdy, Davidson here from WebMoneyFunny.com. Would you like to become an educated sports fan?
It is Wednesday, January 7th. And great to see everybody here as we start another day. NFL Wildcard Weekend. Pretty big deal. We got playoff games. We got NFL coaching searches around the league. We have Vinny Bonsignore at 12:30. We have Herm Edwards. I had him on last night, but I'm going to play it because it was good. Chris Myers on the NFL on Fox. I'm probably going to stream the first hour of the show. So call in if you want, get involved, and let's go.
They're making my job tremendously easy to be out here with young, talented players, man. I think we have a really good team. So I'm super excited. I'm already loving this fan base. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And now, here's JT Red.
Out of the gate, JT with you. We are live all over the world on YouTube, X, the Raiders mobile app, the radio on 920 in Vegas. We appreciate you being here. We got NFL wildcard playoff games coming up this weekend, which are huge. We got games Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We have two massive college football games. The college football semifinal, which I think are really good. Overall, I don't have much of a problem with the four teams that are left. We're real interested out here in Vegas because Mendoza is going up against Moore. I don't know what you could want more. If you're a Raider fan or a Jet fan, is to have the two best quarterbacks in the upcoming draft playing each other. You're going to learn a lot after this game, and there's going to be a lot of raw emotion depending on the outcome of a college football game. There's going to be a lot of raw emotion. There's going to be a lot of people that lose their minds. There's going to be a lot of people throwing stuff, upset, happy. Oh, my God. When I come in here on Friday, Mendoza and Moore, who had the better game, and Raider Therapy starring JT the Brick will be going balls out. I can promise you there. All right, we got a lot to get to today. Again, Vinny Bonsignore will join us at the bottom of the hour, Raider Insider. He's got a lot going on. Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. Herm Edwards in the second hour of the show, and Chris Myers from the NFL on Fox, one of the premier broadcasters in all of sports. And then this time of year, I'm kind of just cruising, man. There's no more Pete Carroll interview because Pete was no longer retained. We did our last Raiders rundown, which was the John Spytek press conference. I don't have Raiders rundown every week where that airs on Saturday night on ABC. And it's just do the night show that I do 3 nights a week on Sirius XM and do this show and then talk football. I did 2 podcasts today, which was nice. I did a podcast with a BYU guy who was really good. I'll tell you about that. And then I did the JT and Looney podcast, which I do every week. Right after the show, I'm sitting down with Rod Woodson, one of the greatest football players ever. Rod just got eliminated from the playoffs as Rod is the analyst for the Ravens. And Rod worked for and knows John Harbaugh as good as anybody. So I'll have some really good information tonight if you want to download the Lay in the Wood podcast that I do with Rod Woodson. Really enjoyed that platform, and we'll do that today at 4 o'clock. So what I want to do today is get the show rolling and remind everybody, I'm definitely different this offseason than I have been in a long time. Everything is wide open. Everything is open for business. Everything. Whatever you want to talk about is open for business because there's so much national news going on with the Raiders that I can't shut down something, right? I shut you down if you want to fire the coach. How can we do that? I'm interviewing the coach every week. Coach has been fired. Now that topic opens up like a flower. So there's big exposés being written by Yahoo and ESPN about the Raiders season. A lot of loose lips now, Clay. You notice that, Clay? A lot of people are talking now All of a sudden, everybody's got opinions about the Raiders and their structure and hierarchy. No, but they didn't 2-3 weeks ago. There was no ESPN.com deep dive with scowls and faces and no Yahoo expert. Why is the timing like that, Clay? What is that about?
It's so much being easier to being an expert after the fact.
Right.
During the part, it's just a mystery. But after the fact, oh, well, let me tell you how it's done. Give me a pack of gum. I'll show you how to chew it.
Yeah, I got a guy today who said, JT, you didn't know that Brendan Carroll was the problem there at the offense? Oh, I didn't know that? No, I didn't know that, right? So now everybody's talking. And what happens, let me take you behind the scenes of almost doing this 30 years, what happens. The agents are the problems here, the agents of the players, because the agents have to calm down the players who aren't coming back. That's really what the hook is, and that's what's happening now. The agents are saying, man, I want to get out of Vegas or I want to stay. And I'm going to just put out all these rumors that the offensive line coach never met with us, or we didn't do this, or we didn't do that. And the agents float all these rumors, and then they float them to a couple of housewives who are insiders and other people. And then they all blow up their Twitter feed because they all want clicks. Even the housewives, they want clicks, and they want to act like they know everything. I could never be more honest. I think I'm always honest with you. There's just some things I won't talk about for obvious reasons, but it's pretty fair to say that nobody knows what Tom Brady's thinking. I think that's pretty safe to say because Tom Brady's studying for a game on Fox. Tom Brady's got a big homework assignment. Tom Brady is studying for his broadcast job on Fox. Does that mean he can't be a part of the coaching search for the Raiders? No, he's a part of that with John Spytek. He can do multiple things, but he's got multiple jobs. And you find out that there's some fans that don't understand that. They don't get that. They don't understand that Michael Jordan and Tom Brady and Matt Ryan, Elon Musk runs SpaceX and Tesla and the Boring Company. The Boring Company, which is building these tunnels under Vegas, I think is the greatest company in the world. Okay, I think Tesla's great. SpaceX is sick, right? These rockets that Elon has. I think his best company, if he went private, I'd put all my stock into the Boring Company. They're building these tunnels underground. Elon Musk is in charge of all that. And he does it all every day. He just has subordinates who run the company. And when there's big decisions, he makes them. So Tom Brady's a part of the biggest decision coming forward since 1960. Since 1960 and or 1963 when Al Davis came to the Raiders. These are the most important decisions in modern Raider history. And I'll be dramatic. I'm comparing it to all time. You got to get the right coach because it's been a train wreck with the coaches. Coaches haven't worked. All good men, all honorable men, it doesn't work. It's been a problem with the GMs in the past, too. We've steadied on this GM. John Spytek, he gets the ability to go forward with Tom Brady. And Mark Davis made it very clear that he wants John and Tom to get this right. Believe me, Mark wants him to get it right. So that's where we're at today. You got to hire a coach, which means a new coaching staff, and you got to get the first pick overall. Most likely you're going to get a quarterback. And those two decisions, if they go perfectly, definitely could lead to multiple Super Bowls or trips to the Super Bowls, and definitely a championship, because this is the time where you have the first pick and the new coach. And we've had all these layers over the last couple of years where the GM came in, but the coach was already here, or the coach was here, then they hired the GM. It was very clunky, but it was vetted. You know, they brought in McDaniels and Ziegler together to get that Patriot vibe going. It didn't work. There were some good things that came out of it, but mostly it didn't work. They brought in Tom Telesco because he came from the AFC West and the Chargers. He drafted Brock Bowers. He also drafted Justin Herbert to the Chargers. They tried with Tom, but he was paired with Antonio Pierce. That wasn't Tom's choice, and it wasn't Antonio Pierce's choice. That was a little bit clunky. And now they got John Spytek with Pete Carroll. That wasn't perfect. By any means was that not perfect. John explained that at the press conference, how much he enjoyed working with Pete. I mean, who wouldn't want to work with Pete Carroll, right? Overall, pretty good guy to work with. That didn't work. And now John Spytek is the de facto GM, but he's got to answer to Tom Brady, right? And they know each other from their friendship at Michigan and their time in Tampa. So they're going to get it right. But there's been a monkey wrench thrown into this thing because John Harbaugh is now available. And with John Harbaugh being available, it would have been the same thing of Mike Tomlin being available. right? Mike Tomlin becoming available. If he was available, everybody would have said, whoa, 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 wait a second. Wait a second. Let's make sure that we get this thing right because we could get Mike Tomlin and we don't have to go out on a search of anybody. We don't have to go get anybody. We got Mike Tomlin. Well, I think that's the same thing you could say about John Harbaugh. And you could say that about Mike McCarthy, who has a Super Bowl ring. And of course, John Gruden. John Gruden, who has a Super Bowl ring and is directly tied to the Raiders. I mean, his son is the weightlifting coach and the fitness guy there. So there's a lot of connections that you could be made at this time to what the Raiders can do going forward. But no matter what the Raiders do, the Raiders have to interview as many people as possible. And I'm a big proponent of that over the years. I have been. I have been a big believer is that you want to infiltrate every organization. You want to bring in your competitors, interview them, get them on the whiteboard, find out what they're doing in Kansas City, LA, find out what their philosophies are, try to get an advantage by talking to those coaches and see what happens. So as Ian Rappaport put out 3 hours ago, the Raiders will interview Broncos quarterback coach Davis Webb, who's super young, supposed to be super sharp. He's never been a head coach. He kind of would be a great offensive coordinator maybe, but he's interviewing for head coach. And maybe they're interviewing him because they believe Vance Joseph, who's coming in, could be the head coach. I'm not saying he would, but he could be. Vance Joseph is highly regarded. And then maybe Vance Joseph would bring in David Webb as his OC. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. Matt Nagy is coming in tomorrow to interview for the Raiders. Confirmed. Really sharp guy. Didn't work out as a head coach. Who cares? Didn't work out for a lot of head coaches the first time. They get a second chance. But what do you learn from Matt Nagy? Well, you can ask him about the Mahomes playbook. What's it like working under Andy Reid? All right, what's it like getting Travis Kelce a free release? That'd be the first question I'd ask Matt Nagy is, have you ever heard of JT the Brick? Oh, you have? He's the guy who says that Kelce gets a free release on every play. Were you aware of that? That would be my question. So Matt Nagy's coming in the building. And then, drum roll, please, if we had it, it would be Seahawks Clint Kubiak on Friday. Kubiak has 3 other requests, as well as Friday and Saturday, to appear. So he's a big name because if they hired Clint Kubiak, a young OC, and tied him to the quarterback, let's assume it's Mendoza, Kubiak and Mendoza, I'd be good with that all day long. All day long, just like I'd be good with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh with a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, that sounds pretty sharp. And then everybody else, I don't know. There's other candidates that they're going to sit down with and talk to. But I'm interested on Friday because Seahawks OC Clint Kubiak and his dad was a very good coordinator, really good and sharp, all connected through the West Coast offense, all connected through Shanahan and Walsh and everybody there, right? So you get a really sharp OC, a young gun. A guy like Clint Kubiak, if he ended up getting hired as the head coach of the Raiders, would almost identically be the same as John Gruden getting hired when he got hired the first time. And I thought that was a great hire. So I don't know who's going to get the job. I'm just going to repeat who's out there and who's going to interview and who wants to interview for the job. But I think that's a big topic today as I open up the phones at 702-365-9200. Do you want to do one of two things? Do you want to hire the first guy fast? Do you want to hire the first guy like next week? Or do you want to wait? And do you want to sit down with everybody and kind of figure it out? Because as I talked about this and I tweeted this out last night, I think the philosophy on this is really important, that Tom Brady and John Spivey take their time and get it right. And I tweeted 4 hours ago, after almost 30 years of doing this, I don't pay attention until the second interview. Talk to as many current and former head coaches as necessary and young coordinators to gain valuable information about the other teams and offer the best candidate the job. If he says no, you better have a great backup choice. And that's the point I wanted to make. Maybe our number one choice last year was Ben Johnson. We didn't get him. We got Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was clearly not our first choice, as you would assume. We know that Geno Smith was not our first choice. It was Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was approached. The Brady connection, it didn't work. Gino was not the first choice. So we know for a fact in less than a calendar year, our choice for quarterback and coach did not work. And it didn't work at all. So we better have a better plan. And the plan would be, what's choice number one? Choice number one could all of a sudden be John Harbaugh, right? That could be number one in a matter of, wow, he's there. A lot of people are saying, call Kurt Signetti. Oh, give me a break. You didn't even know who he was. You didn't even know his name. Doing this show all year, you never even heard his name. You couldn't spell it. Now you want Kurt Signetti. Why? Because he's on TV? He's on 60 Minutes? If he's the head coach, I'll go pick him up at the airport. I want Kurt Signetti. You're the same knuckleheads that were telling me you didn't even know who he was. Now you want him. Really? Come on, keep it down the middle, man. You know, when you're driving, stay in your lane. Like, let's focus this show on who we can get. I'm not saying that Signetti is impossible. It's not impossible. You can go to Kirk Signetti and say, we're going to give you $15 million a year, and you're going to get Mendoza, and you got to quit Indiana and be the head coach of the Raiders. What would you put that on a percentage scale, Clay? 1%? 5%? Where would you put that? I'm being honest. Where would you put that?
Yeah, under 10 for sure.
Under 10%.
No doubt, yeah.
Okay, so we'll open up that door, which normally I wouldn't open. I'm not a good game show host. I'm not a good, like, door number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I have a clock in my head and I don't want to waste your time. I could sit here for the next 4 months and do the same show every day. Give you the phone number. Give me your dream coach. Give me your dream pick. I could do that every day. I don't put my feet up. I try to give you different content. So I'm trying to get the most logical coach available. Who's logical that will come? Some people are saying rebuild. Not me. Other people are coming up saying rebuild. I think Vinny's one of them, right? Vinny's coming up at the bottom of the hour. I think Vinny's more rebuild than I am, and I respect the hell out of Vinny. We can agree to disagree. But do you want a rebuilding coach? Well, if you're going to get a rebuilder and someone who's going to tear it down and build it up, that'd be Kubiak. He's never done this before, so he could do it. Or do you want to get – I even had someone last night tell me that, you won't believe this, that John Harbaugh is a retread. That's a popular term in the Raiders sphere. We don't want a retread. So here's what I know we don't want. I know Raider Nation doesn't want anybody who ever worked for the Patriots, which is lunacy. And I'm an expert on that topic. I got a PhD on that because you took it out on me, because you couldn't get to Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels didn't have Twitter, right? He wasn't going to DM you back. You weren't going to get to Josh McDaniels, but you got to me. And you told me you didn't want Josh McDaniels because he was a Patriot. Well, we got the Patriot, the greatest Patriot of all time, making decisions now in Tom Brady. What happens if he brings in another Patriot? You going to be okay with this? Or are you going to lose your mind? Well, I think you're going to lose your mind. So I'm just trying to stay in my lane here and figure out what we're going to do. As of today, my two choices would be John Harbaugh and Clint Kubiak. But that could vastly change in a week. In a week. That could change. It could be Brian Flores for whatever reason. If that's where it's leaning, maybe I could put Brian Flores ahead of Clint Kubiak, or maybe one of these other young coordinators who are out there. I don't know, but I don't have the answers, but I do have the portal to get your opinion. And I want your opinion on this. And normally I don't go all in Wildcard Weekend, but I have to. My job requirement now is to engage people on the number 1 pick overall and the coach. My luck, I'll be taking off a day to go visit my mom, and they'll hire the coach, right? I know when the draft is. I had an interesting morning today. My wife said, sit down. Oh, boy, what'd I do? Uh-oh, sit down. Break out your calendar. She taught me how to do Siri. Siri, make a calendar. I'm not a tech guy, right? As you can tell if you're watching. And we went through all of our appointments, all of the things we're doing in January and February. And my wife knows I live out of a planner. I get a black planner every year for Christmas, one of my presents. And I like to write stuff down. And I wake up in the morning, I have a coffee, and I open up my planner. And if I have an appointment here or this, we got a lot of appointments with our partners here. And I like to look at it. I don't like to look at my phone and get alerts. I'm not good at that. And she said, calm down for a second. Let's go over the next 2 months, because I got to go up to San Francisco for a little Radio Row. I'm going to go visit my mom, who's recovering from an ailment. I'm going to, do some things with my sons. My sons want to do some stuff. But I got to be close to home because we haven't hired a coach. And they might call me and say, get down here with Eric Allen. Eric Allen's on the Raider jet coming in. You guys got to host the coaching press conference because we hired a coach. And I'd like to know who that guy's going to be. I'd like to know who that guy's going to be, who you think it's going to be. And whoever it's going to be is they're going to bring in their own staff. They're going to bring in a lot of other new people here. And I feel for some of the new people that were just brought in under Pete Carroll. Right, Pete Carroll, and you want to beat up his son all you want. You're going to do that. That's what the internet's for. But you're going to sit there and look at all the other coaches that Pete Carroll brought in. There are a lot of people you don't know. I know who they are, but I don't know them. I haven't broke bread with them. They're all gone. They're probably not coming back. They're looking for jobs. Johnny Morton got fired yesterday, my former next-door neighbor. He got fired by Detroit as the offensive coordinator because Dan Campbell took the play calling away from him. How'd that work out? They didn't make the playoffs. Man, I'm really bitter on Dan Campbell on what he did to Johnny Moe. What he did to him was freaking awful. Right? And then there's a lot of other coaches that are knocking on Tom Brady and John Spytek's door saying, I want to coach the Raiders. That's another piece of garbage statement out there. No one wants to coach the Raiders. I don't know who it was, Tannenbaum or Orlovsky. I don't want to put a name on it. But I was watching one of the morning debate shows, and they're like, well, the Raiders would be lucky to get who? And I'm like, lucky? You know how many people spend their whole lives wanting to be associated with the famed Raider organization? Yeah, we've been going through a bumpy road for 20 years. Everybody grew up with John Madden and Tom Flores and Ken Stabler. You know how many people want to be associated with Ken Stabler, Cliff Branch, Fred Biletnikoff, Charles Woodson, Howie Long? Like a lot. They all want to be associated with this brand. So don't believe the false propaganda from those who say, who would want to be associated with the Raiders? Like everybody would. Anybody who's out of work would love to be associated with the Raiders. And there's only a handful of coaches that wouldn't work for the Raiders because maybe they don't like the structure of the organization. Maybe they don't like the Brady element or whatever. I don't think that's a big deal. I think Tom Brady being associated with anything is a pretty good thing. I met his parents. You know Brady. We all know what he's doing in life. I think Tom Brady is going to make some pretty good decisions coming up here. But who's going to be the head coach? I'm not putting up a poll. I hate poll questions. It's lazy. I'm not going to do a hierarchy, my top 10 choices. I'm going to wait and listen to you and get a vibe for what you want because this is a good time to be a Raider fan. We need some production out of you fans. We need you fans to add even more than you've always added. Not be divisive, not tear down, not fire everybody, because that's what's been natural. Let's fire everybody for the last couple of years. Everyone's been fired. They've all been fired. Now we got to hire. We're moving from firing to hiring. Who do you want to hire? That's the monologue brought to you by Golden Entertainment. They own the Strat. What great room rates, what great suites and rooms. Over the break, I had friends come into town and we went to Top of the World restaurant. Oh my God, it was incredible again. The restaurant moves and you're sitting around there. The cuisine was fantastic. The service was great. It's one of the hidden gems of Vegas and what they do there. So go check out the Strat and all of the luxury items they have there. A lot of people haven't been to the Strat in a while. And if you're shopping rates during CES and you're looking for room rates, you're going to love your room and you're going to love how easy it is to get up and down the strip from the Strat. Very easy to do that. Golden Entertainment, proud partner of the show. All right, the number 702-365-9200. Ruben in Vegas on 920. How are you, Ruben?
Good. Happy New Year to everybody. Yourself, JT, Raider Nation. I would like to just disagree with you, disagree with you.
Yeah.
With Raider Nation, like with everything that comes out, I think honestly, some of it's BS, of course, just for the clicks. But I do believe some of the stuff, it kind of makes sense in some of the things that goes on throughout the season. And then the press or the agents, they wait to release the stuff out of respect, maybe, especially for Coach Carroll or the organization. But like some of the stuff, it does to me at least make sense of how things are going with the play and the body language and whatnot. Sometimes I believe half of it is trash. And just like you said, for clicks and all that. But I really believe, and I think it is the agents that let how they leak it out. Like some of the stuff, to me, it makes sense the way the season goes. As far as Raider Nation, like, when you think retreads, you know, it's like disadvantage. He wasn't a great head coach. Maybe he's just a better coordinator. Coach here. So stuff like that, it's like that's when we say retread. Like let's get someone new, someone fresh. You know, offensive mind, especially with number one pick. If we're gonna draft either Mendoza or whoever, you know, let's get someone fresh, innovative. Like you know, I want to throw it back. So I'm a Chucky guy, like a young John Gruden came into. He was young minded, fresh minded. That's what we want as a nation because we're loyal, JP. I know you're loyal to your job, your family, your whatever. Raider Nation is loyal. We just don't like you said when it comes to quarterback, or you know, it ain't like back in the day with Jim Plunkett. He came in, he was a washed up quarterback, you know, on a Super Bowl and whatnot. You know, that time I'm sorry. There's a new era of NFL where we just want something fresh. We're excited about it. We love the
I know that. I know you do. But if Matt LaFleur's available or John Harbaugh's available or John Gruden's available, are you interested in that? Because I don't think we should categorize them as retreads.
Not really. Like Chucky, he did a good job on Mr. Gruden. That's sad, but and the thing is, it takes time. Like a lot of people say, oh, he had bad draft picks, he had this and that. We get all that. Some picks do not work. It's to me, it's all about the player if they want it and if they fit the scheme that they're trying to do. At the end of the day, like it takes time. We can, like you said, we can be paying coaches left and right. It's money. It's not my money, but from what I understood, the Raiders are paying 5 coaches or coordinators, even with the organization no more. And as a Raider fan, like I said, we love the Raiders, man. We're passionate. To me, it's a way of life, man. Like I got the game, you know, as many games as I can and whatnot. I spend my hard-earned money on Raider gear, like stuff. So we just want to win. We just want.
I know you do.
We love the Raiders, Jake.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. Appreciate the call. Thank you. I know you love the Raiders. I know you do. I can tell it in your voice. You said you got the ink. You got the passion. I will just tell you from my front row seat. I got a front row seat. The majority of the Raider fans wanted every one of these coaches fired. And they took it out on me on this show. Every one of you wanted to fire every coach that's just been fired. Don't change that moniker. Don't change the narrative. You wanted these guys out. You wanted them all fired. You wanted them out. You liked a couple of them, and then as soon as they started losing, you wanted them out. And you were right. You were right. But when you're in the middle of it, you got to finish the season. But then you got to wait. But the reason these coaches have been fired in succession is they didn't get the job done. Other than Rich Bisaccia, who did get the job done, but he didn't get an interview. He hasn't been a head coach since. He's not a head coach. He's a special teams coordinator. But that's how John Harbaugh started. He even said it in his goodbye, that he started as a special teams coach, and he made all that success coming up there. I think whoever they choose as head coach is going to be a really, really good candidate, and we're going to be back to square one. Will the coach win? And if he doesn't win, you're going to be all over the coach to win. And then you're going to give the coach a year to a year and a half, and then you're going to want him out. That's why it's so important to get it right this time. Have the vision right about where the team's going to go and go down that road and get it right. Get it right. But we say that every year. They thought they got it right with McDaniels and Ziegler. They thought they got it right with Pete Carroll and Spytek. They think they're going to get it right now with Brady and Spytek, and I believe they'll get it right with Brady and Spytek because they got the number one pick and they got $100 million. And I think everybody is focused, laser focused to get it right. So I'm very encouraged from where I'm sitting on them getting it right. Gulf Coast Raiders in Tampa, Florida. What's happening?
Hey, what's good, JT? I just wanted to talk, obviously about the next coach that I think we should get. I think it should be Cliff Kingsbury from, from the Commanders.
Okay.
Pairing him up with a young quarterback. Honestly, I feel like if we get Cliff, then we should get more out of Oregon. Not too sold on Mendoza. Honestly, I hope that he's the only quarterback coming out so that we can trade that pick and move down and get the linebacker out of Ohio State.
So you don't want to get a quarterback. You want a linebacker from Ohio State and not Mendoza.
Yeah, either him or the defensive end out of Miami, Dane. I really want to go after Arch Manning next year if he comes out next year. I feel like that will be more satisfying for Raider Nation.
Okay.
To have that NFL royalty with Manning and Tom Brady.
What happens if the Raiders don't get the number one pick and can't get Arch Manning? And we didn't get Mendoza this year. We don't get Arch Manning.
You trade I mean, obviously this is hypothetical. It's not as easy as just trade for it. You got to have a good package, everything like that.
Okay, so lastly, I'm running out of time. You don't want to do anything this year. You want to wait till next year.
As far as a quarterback.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. My head's gonna pop, man. I need to get out of here. I mean, did I just take that call? Let's blow off this year. Let's blow off the number 1 pick. Let's guess and hope we get Arch Manning. Did I just take that call? That's what I deal with. You're coming into my world. You're just seeing what I have to deal with, which I love my job. I love it. I just get frustrated. There's a guy, Gulf Coast Raider, famous guy. Forget it, JT. We don't need the number 1 pick. No Mendoza. Let's go for Arch next year in a trade no less. Oh, boy. All right, when we come back, Vinny Bonsignore will join us. We'll talk to Vinny. I told you about Virgin Hotels. You should become a Cherry Rewards member. Best hotel rates just for you. You'll earn on gaming stays. You'll have spa days and more. And the restaurants, come on, Nobu, Lucia Mexican Grill, Cassie Beach House, One Steakhouse with the great John O'Donnell. It's right there at Virgin Hotels, Las Vegas.
Wake up with the morning tailgate.
Maximizing the moment. I think that's a perfect way to characterize.
Wow. Trade the Mendoza pick. Trade the Mendoza pick. That's good.
The picture you want. There's no more forced marriages. There's none of that. It is Tom Brady. It is.
All right, I'll tell Vinny we're calling him too.
Head coaching vacancy and a whole lot of cash to spend. Those are weapons.
The morning tailgate. Weekdays at 7 a.m.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos. How's the chat going? Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly. Hey,
Oh, yes, water. I do need some water. That's true. Let's get Mendoza. Let's get Mendoza, we're seeing. Derek Garcia. Are the owner or the GM? Stop. No, he's an administrator. Big D makes sure that we don't have any haters in here. Amongst making great sauce and being a good friend of mine.
Justice for the injured. It's a long family heritage.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We know that. We don't have to agree with it.
To the expert legal team at the Castroverde.
I don't hate this fan base at all. I don't. Some people get crazy.
We have your back.
BrothersWin.com. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment?
All right, Clay. Told Vinny to call, and we'll call him. We're good.
Timeshare for and cancel.
LeBron had a pretty good game last night. Wow. LeBron still putting up points this late in his career.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-691-9999. That's 800-691-9999.
You won't believe everything I just saw. I went to Disneyland, and it was the 70th celebration. First, I went to Mickey Mouse Clubhouse Live, and I danced with Goofy. I even got Dad to do the hot dog dance. He's not bad.
Alabama quarterback is headed to the NFL. Ty Simpson. I don't know how good he is. Cisco wants Mendoza. I know you do, Cisco. Cisco wants Mendoza. Are there any coaches that I'm interested in the head coach? Did you just hear the monologue? What do you think I just did? I told you Clint Kubiak, John Harbaugh. Those are the two that jump out at me, Clint Kubiak and John Harbaugh.
Celebration from Paint the Night Parade returning January 30th to World of Color Happiness. And with Bluey and Lego coming soon. Happiness is everywhere at the Disneyland Resort. Visit Disneyland.com for details.
Nothing can stop us.
Open a Clark County Credit Union high-yield bonus checking account and earn one of the highest rates available just for using your checking account. Plus, bonus checking offers peace of mind, unrivaled security, and smart savings. There are so many benefits to banking at CCCU. Isn't it about time you became a member? Open a bonus checking account today and start earning more interest. Because if somebody's making money off your checking account, it should be you. Funds privately insured by American Share Insurance.
Big news, Las Vegas. Les Olson IT has moved to a bigger, better facility to serve you like never before. Our new space
I'm gonna come
is
back with a
more
spike tech cuts
technology,
from
more
Monday.
service, and more solutions,
And
all designed with
sustainability
you in
effect.
mind. Plus, we're hiring. If you're ready to
Okay.
grow with a company that values innovation and community, join our team today. Proudly serving Las Vegas for 23 years and counting. Les Olson IT, your business better. Les Olson IT.
Okay, time to get moving. Classes start at CSN on January 20th, so apply now. You can still register through January 5th. So what are you waiting for? Apply online at csn.edu. Hurry, time is running out. Go to csn.edu now.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by PT's, the best happy hour in town, 5 to 7 p.m. and midnight to 2 a.m.
I think as the NFL goes, it's important, but this is a largely unstable world we live in. Even when you're good, you have instability because your coordinators take off on you. I mean, there's a couple teams that were great last year and they lost some really good coaches, and it hasn't worked out as well for them this year. So we're always battling every year. It feels like every game, every week, every year you're battling. And so, it'll be built organizationally. We want to define what it means to be a Raider. We want people that are excited to be a Raider. We think that this is an exciting job. And we want people where it means a little bit more to be a Raider. And I think when we can find that, we can find those people that are dying to stay here, dying to come here, dying not to leave here, then, that success with some stability will be created.
John Spytek, let's get right to Vinny Bonsignore, who had a front row seat and asked a lot of questions. And Vinny, I haven't talked to you since the press conference. Big picture overall, how do you think John Spytek did?
Yeah, no, I think he did really good. And I think that it was really a good day. Not only for the Raiders, but I think for him. I think that the Raiders making it crystal clear what the plan is now, and John Spytek being front and center on this coaching search, obviously alongside Tom Brady. You think about it in the past when the Raiders have done coaches, at least the last three that I recall, they were also doing general management simultaneous to that. It always sort of created all right, who's among you? Which one of you guys work? It always felt a little clunky in some ways. I think that's been removed. It's going to go Tom Brady / John Spytek, and then everyone else below that. And I think that's the right way to go about it. I look at, in Los Angeles with the Rams, with Kevin Demoff as the president of football operations, Wes Snead is the general manager, and Sean McVay is below that. That doesn't mean that Sean McVay doesn't have a say in personnel matters. What he does do is articulate exactly what he needs for this particular scheme and that particular scheme, and what I want, my guard and my quarterback and my slot wide receiver, and that information goes to Wes Snead, and then he distributes that to his scouts, and they go out and get those types of players. But they make the final call in terms of those draft picks. And I think it's good that the Raiders have set that chain of command in place, so that there's no questions for anybody. And now a head coach is going to understand that as well coming into the door. And there's some guys that probably wouldn't want to be part of that. Your Pete Charles, I guess, or your Bill Belichick, but there's plenty of other coaches, i.e. Sean McVay, who's perfectly fine with that.
How does John Harbaugh change everything? Two-part question with the Raiders search and the national search with all these other teams.
Yeah, I think he's somebody that whether you're the Raiders or anybody else, you're going to want to check in on. It's a coaching candidate that you can't ignore. He's just been so proven, so consistent. You never heard a peep out of Baltimore about any kind of anything, really. It's always been a solidly run organization and a solid head coach who's been there for 18 years and represents certainty and credibility, a level of proficiency and efficiency. So he's definitely somebody that you kind of take a look at. But if you're John Harbaugh, you're going to have a lot of suitors, and taking nothing away from the Raiders, but where they are right now, does that necessarily line up with where John Harbaugh is right now? Does he want a job, if he decides to come back to coaching this year, does he want a job that offers a little bit more right now in terms of being able to compete at the high level.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Depending on how committed he is into a reload, rebuild, whatever the category is there. I've been a fan of Clint Kubiak for a while because of where he's come from and his history and his youth and some of the vision that he has now. He's coming in on Friday. If you look at some of the other candidates that are coming in here before that for interviews, did anything jump out at you, or are you just going to wait for the second interview process? I know you're reporting on everyone. You do a great job with that, but everyone can kind of get a first interview. It's when they get invited back for a second.
Yeah, and just for clarity's sake, because there's a lot of different rules and regulations, I'm not going to Clint is going to be via Zoom because we're still playing albeit on the bye week. He's definitely going to interview on Friday, and heard a lot of good things about Clint Kubiak, and obviously the work that he's done this year with Sam Darnold and with that Seahawks offense. Never did. And had questions about, okay, how good is the Seattle offense going to be? Well, it's been one of the best in the NFL, and they're the top seed in the NFC playoffs. Cliff Kubiak has had a big role in that, and it'll be interesting now. How does he interview? How does he relate? What do you, as an organization, think of him as the leader of the entire project and operation, and not just being the offensive guy? So, he's got an opportunity here, not just with the Raiders, but with everyone else, to prove to people that not only am I a good offensive mind, but I can be the head coach of the team.
Vinny Bonsignore, as we wrap this up. So, in general, when we look back at the year, you reported every day. I reported every day. I was on the radio, but you travel with the team and all this. When you look back at the season, where did it all go wrong? And I know that's a big question here, but when it came to the O-line, we're seeing exposés written now at Yahoo and ESPN, and we're kind of embedded with the team, so there's certain things that are a little bit more delicate to report on when you're in front of coaches and in the building almost every day. But when you look back at Pete Carroll, and if he could have done this all over again, was it just deemed to fail because of the system he was in, as we talk about with Spy Tech and the control he wanted, and his son's being involved here, and then the injuries and the personnel? How do we put a bow on this, Vinny?
Yeah, I think for the Raiders, it's lesson learned, and I think that plenty of time. This can't be for naught, and part of making sure that it's not for naught is learning the lessons and recognizing where the mistakes were made. And, making sure that you don't repeat it. And look, nobody thought or thought Tom Brady simply was going to walk off the football field or the TV booth and be influenced as the leader of football operations. There was going to be a learning curve. There always is. It was for Jerry West. Obviously, we've seen other athletes that assume roles, and there was always going to be a learning curve. And I think from my perspective, I just think that it felt kind of clunky in terms of the vision and the shared vision or lack there. It doesn't make anybody right or wrong. It just meant, from my perspective, I felt like there were people that were on just two different timelines or multiple different timelines. You can't have that. Everybody's got to be in lockstep. And I think that's the lesson that was learned inside the building, that you have to find as an organization, everybody's got to be on the same page. And so the quest now to make sure that doesn't happen again is for Tom Brady and John Spytek to find a coach that doesn't just share that version, that vision, but is willing to work alongside you to execute that vision, and not just in the interview room, and not just say that you're gonna be, I'll do whatever you say, but actually be real about that, and when push comes to shove, actually be true to your words. I'm not saying that anybody wasn't, but sometimes in interviews people say things and in a way, and then it's otherwise. When it gets right down to it, and Tom Brady and John Spytek need to be able to see through that to figure out who among the people that they sit down to represents everything that they're trying to be about, and the vision and the timeline that they have in place, and is going to work alongside them and with them, and everybody's oar is going to be poking in the same water. It has to be like that. That you don't have any chance when it's not. And we've seen that before, not just with the Raiders, but other organizations. But we've seen it when organizations are aligned, and the greatness that is possible when you have that kind of working all for the same goal, working out of the same playbook.
Thank you, Vinny. Talk to you soon. I know you're very busy with your time today. Thanks for a few minutes.
All right. Have a great show, JT.
All right. Vinny Bonsignore. Nice to have him here. We appreciate Vinny. That was brought to you by the Fountain Blue. I just saw Charles Woodson put out a whole bunch of social media at the Hall of Excellence at Fountain Blue. Fountain Blue is a proud partner of our show, from the restaurants, their food court. Have you been to their food court when you come up the escalator? Incredible. Their concert venue is fabulous. Live nightclub, the pool, everything they do there. But we like to talk about what they have at the Hall of Excellence. If you're looking to see one of the greatest sports and entertainment media collection of all time, it's right there. It's the Fountain Blue's second story. All of Tom Brady's big memorabilia. Tom Brady's memorabilia is not in Miami. It's not in New England. It's at the Fountain Blue. I recommend everybody go see it and go check it out and put on the earbuds, walk around, and then afterwards have lunch, go to the sports book, go shopping, do whatever you want to do there. But Fountain Blue, pretty spectacular. They're proud partners of our show. And go see the Hall of Excellence to see what you haven't seen before. If you haven't seen it, you have not seen anything like this. It is that good. So Vinny had a lot to say there. You know, Clay, this seems to be about the new structure of the organization. Well, why did it take so long to have this structure? Well, Vinny pointed it out. Sometimes you bring new people in, new ownership, structures change a bit. Mark wants to delegate more power to Brady, which is fine. Mark's hands-on because Mark's in the building, and Mark talks to everybody every day and late into the night, if you know Mark, just like Mr. Davis did. But they seem to think, and the rest of the NFL believes, that Spytek and Brady together will go about this the right way. And that will be the draft pick and the coach. When we come back, I'm going to go through some of these wild card games and some of the moving lines. Jeff Sherman was great yesterday, breaking down all the moving lines and how to bet these games. Next hour, Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. Herm Edwards will join us. What a great motivational speaker he is. And then Chris Myers in his usual spot for the NFL on Fox.
Wake up with the morning tailgate.
All right, I'm going to take this for probably about another 20 minutes. We'll do a little bit more here, and then I'll pop in and do a monologue, and then a little contained content that we have here, and we'll be done. So I'll be right back. As they say, hydrate. Go hydrate, please.
The morning tailgate, weekdays at 7 a.m.
Visit the newly opened William Hill Sportsbook at Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, featuring a wide range of sports betting options, including player props, same-game parlays, super parlays, live in-play wagers, and more. All available 24/7. You can also come in and sign up for a William Hill mobile account and get your first bet matched up to $250 instantly. Never miss another bet with William Hill Sportsbook at Virgin Hotels Las Vegas. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
See your Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday, January 31st against the Seattle Kraken in the Party Deck, presented by Sire's Harrods. The Party Deck is where all the off-the-ice excitement happens, from the Knights Castle to the Night Line. Tickets to the Party Deck are standing room only. Tickets start at just $39. Go to VGKTicketExchange.com for all the info. That's VGKTicketExchange.com. Sponsored by West Star Credit Union and Centennial Subaru. Resale test for arbitration. Tickets will be delivered by a mobile 48 hours before the game.
This is JT the Brick from Raider Nation Radio for MROD, the preferred shuttle provider of Allegiant Stadium. Ride like a pro, round trip to your favorite events at Allegiant Stadium. No more hassle parking, sitting in traffic, or waiting in long taxi or rideshare lines. MRide it, and you'll get in and out quickly. Go to mride.com to book your ride today. Use promo code BRICK for 10% off. That's mride.com, promo code BRICK. Raider Nation, it's JT. I partnered with Charles Woodson and his Woodson Whiskey. It's the official bourbon whiskey of the Black Hole and the Las Vegas Raiders. If it wasn't your game day whiskey, it is now. Raise a bottle at your next tailgate and toast to the silver and black. The limited edition Black Hole bottles now available at woodsonwhiskey.com. Use the promo code JTTheBrick at checkout for 15% off. That's woodsonwhiskey.com, the official whiskey of Raiders. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, man, we've got some cool things happening. Keep an eye on that YouTube channel. We're doing some extra content. The JT and Looney podcast from earlier today is up there. And there's going to be another. I was just retweeted a podcast I was on earlier today with a guy who's got a big YouTube channel. He doesn't have a big Twitter following, but he's got a big YouTube channel. And his name is Pete Sousa. Pete, S-O-U-S-A. And I was on his show today talking Raiders. It's Golden Nugget Resort Casino on Fremont Street. Yeah, a lot of people like Clint Kubiak. Apparel and merchandise created by the fans for the fans. And Black Hole members. I know a lot of people like John Gruden, too. I love John Gruden. Love John Gruden. Call. It's around the house. Call. Plumbing and HVAC is family owned and operated, serving Southern Nevada since 2015. There are no surprise costs. We got a Clay Baker commercial rocking right here. I love it. AC repairs. There's nothing worse, Clay, than when you need an AC repair. Because when they tell you your AC's effed, you are effed, man.
There's the mercy of Snake.
And yes, should Tyler Schott change his last name to Schott, S-H-O-T, or should we keep it at Tyler Slow, however he pronounces it? Tyler Shuck. It's Shuck.
Yeah. The only Shuck ever.
The only Shuck ever that's pronounced. It's a really bad marketing thing. It's pronounced as slow. It's weird. Tyler Shuck.
By Local 872, your workforce solution.
Matthew Stafford under center. Blake Corum the single back. Play fake. Stand up to throw. Shoot it right side. Touchdown, LA. Colby Parkinson calls game. Give Matthew his MVP. A 4-touchdown closing statement for the 37-year-old in his 17th season. The Rams are in the clear. They'll be the 5 seed going to Carolina next week.
Rams radio, the Raiders were looking at Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford came to the Raiders with this offensive line, he would have got killed. He would have got just beat up. It never would have worked, but he would have been much better than Geno Smith. And he would have moved the ball better, and they would have figured it out better than what happened this past year. But Matthew Stafford, I think, won the MVP award. I'd have Drake May as the runner-up, Stafford first. So I'm going to go through all these games here at the top of the hour, but I want to get to the first game between the Rams and the Panthers. The line on that is still 10.5. And we had Jeff Sherman on yesterday to talk about that. He says it hasn't gone below 10, and it's probably going to go off at 10, 10.5. Well, 10.5 is a big deal. Right? The number's 3. That's the common number here, 10.5. If you can get the Panthers getting 10.5 compared to 10, you hit that number all day long. I never think these numbers come down to the exact half point to the point. This one could, because I don't think the Panthers will beat the Rams twice. If they do, the internet's going to break. You want to talk about one of the greatest upsets that we've seen in a long time in playoff history. Let's just say, for argument's sakes, the Panthers win. 2 against the Rams this year, both in Carolina, and the Rams are eliminated. There's going to be some serious problems at Rams' house. They don't get many fans, too, and I'm always careful about that. It's not like the Raiders are selling out with 100% Raider fans. I get it. We're different here. We're the entertainment capital of the world. People are still buying tickets to road trip here to see their teams. No, in LA, they just don't go see the Rams. They don't. The Niners own that building. And I think the Rams are going to win, but that number is big. I would love to be Dave Canales. I wish they had a camera on him all week. Can you imagine the head coach of the Panthers walking through those meeting rooms saying, yeah, it's 10.5 now. It's 10. Those players are going to be so excited to shock the world. I don't think most players know about the point spread. I don't. Some do. Most don't. They're too focused on preparing for a game. But when you take this Carolina team that's already beaten the Rams, already beaten them and manhandled at home, and now you're saying the whole world doesn't believe you again, they're going to come in ready to play. Ready to play. And when that happens, it's going to get nuts. Nuts if that game's tight in the fourth quarter. I think the Rams are going to win by 7 or 8 points. I don't think they'll cover. Devontae Adams returns. I'm not a big fan of Devontae and how he left the Raiders, but I'm a big fan of his overall career and how he's played. That hamstring and that issue has been pretty important to him. And they've done everything they could to rest Devontae to get him going with Puka. They got a really good 1-2 punch there. Devontae has been one of the best number 1 receivers for over a decade. Now Puka is the 1. Devontae is the 2. And when they're 3rd and goal, they got 2 of the best going after those balls. So when we come back on the other side, I'll give you some leans on those other teams. Herm Edwards will join us from ESPN. Had a good time with Herm. I don't think it was 3 or 4 years ago. He was the guest speaker at the Las Vegas Bowl at the luncheon, and we got to spend some time together. And I've seen Coach over the years at other events up in Tahoe. It's going to be nice to catch up to Herm Edwards and Chris Myers from the NFL on Fox. 1 hour down, Q at the top of next hour at 2 o'clock Pacific time right here on Raider Nation Radio. All right, Clay. I'm going to take a look at this sound. Ryan Fitzpatrick on Brian Flores. Did you play that this morning?
I played at 9:30.
Okay, I definitely want to play Ian Rappaport. McAfee on the Raiders' top pick. Yeah. Yeah.
Want to hear the throw for Herm?
No, I'll wait for that. I'm going to do a monologue till 15 and break, and then we'll do Herm and then Myers. Yeah, I don't know much about Joe Brady. I'm going to kind of study up on Joe Brady a little bit more, but that's definitely a name out there. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out this new schedule I'm under, which not that anybody gives a shit about my schedule, but man, since August we did the 4 preseason games, right? I did the play-by-play, then we jumped into the whole season of 2 TV shows plus the Pete Carroll interview and then game day. So my Sundays have been pregame, postgame, and then the Mad Dog show. And it kicked the shit out of me this year, man. It was a lot of work. So I don't want to work that hard again, ever. I want to keep all my jobs. But, man, that was a big, big, big run. And there was a lot of losing. So I think all the negativity of losing those games and still having to go on the radio and be energetic, not positive, but be energetic, probably took a little bit out of me, man.
Hypnosis at 11 a.m. Sign up at
But it's not a real job. I'm not putting out oil fires. I'm not a cop or a fireman. I'm not sitting there working like, I'm not doing a factory job for 18 hours a day. So I know that. I always know that. Ooh, Lakers-Spurs tonight. Lakers-Spurs tonight. Anybody watching basketball? Is anybody watching NBA games? Do you sit down in front of a full NBA game and watch it? All right, Clay, we're going to do McAfee, Rappaport, Todd McShay on Dante Moore.
To enjoy the you cheer on your nights on the ice.
A lot of people that work hard. You know, I grew up with a lot of guys who worked at UPS or were cops. It's really two interesting jobs, right? So growing up in New York, I had buddies of mine who worked at UPS. They unloaded boxes. Then they became drivers. Yeah, I know Chris and what he does. And those guys work their ass off. But you know something? They're all retired now. All my buddies are like 60 and retired. They made a lot of money with their pension, man. Holy crap. You be a UPS driver for 30 years. And then I got a couple of my boyhood buddies who are cops or firemen. And they beat up their bodies pretty good, too. Being a cop and being a fireman is not easy. Yeah, Chris at DHL. And the cops and firemen who are retired now, first, are fortunate to be alive. They put their lives on the line, right? Put their lives on the line, guns and fires. And, you know, but now they're hobbled a little bit because of all the time on their feet, walking, working, running. Man, it's hard.
Since breaking back, separate operating championship rings, much more. Each piece tells a story of greatness and game-changing moments. Experience the history. Get your tickets now at Fountain Blue.
Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is closing. Wow, that's bad.
The Williams. On Saturday, it's the Rams and Panthers, followed by the Packers and Bears. Then a triple header on Sunday, featuring the Bills and Jaguars, 49ers and Eagles, and the Chargers and Patriots. And then one final game on Monday night between the Texans and Steelers. From the wildcard round all the way to Super Bowl 60 in the Bay Area,
The one thing I did admire about Pete is consistency. He's won for such a long time. The Super Bowl champion. This season didn't go the way we expected it at all. From the players to the coaches, I don't think anybody expected we would be in this position and be getting the number one pick. The one thing I did admire about Pete is he was consistent as they come. He's won for such a long time. The Super Bowl champion.
Obviously it means a lot to me being a part of Silver and Black. Long, the history. It's been a million times. I feel like I was meant to be a Raider. I love being here.
Your Silver and Black home to South Dawn for over 25 years. It's amazing. Opportunity, great coaching, great fan base. So expecting a lot of fun, a lot of energy, a lot of great times. It's going to be all about competition. I mean, there's going to be no easy games in there. And now here's JT the Brick.
Hour number 2 of the show, JT, brought to you by the 872 Laborers, led by Tommy White, building the city on time and on budget, thanks to Tommy White and the 872 Laborers. Tommy, also a season ticket holder. Get a chance to see him at every home game. And I always thank him for our partnership. The 872 Laborers, proud partner of our show. So what we're doing here is we're trying to go through and kind of look at all the content that is being pumped out from all the major sports news outlets on the Raiders. Because we're the Raider flagship station. We know a lot. I think we know more than some people on Fox Sports 1 who are sitting with hoodies on in the morning guessing about the Raiders. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think we have a little bit more knowledge than most people on what the Raiders want to do and their philosophy, but there's very well-connected insiders in the sport that know the Raiders also. They know the executives in the building. They know Tom Brady. They know Mark Davis. They know John Spytek, and they all have opinions too. So we're trying to cut through all the kind of nonsense and figure out what could actually happen. And this isn't an area. This is a time of year where we don't know much. We don't know much. Do the Raiders want to take their time? Do they see a candidate that they want to really get to quickly before other teams do? When you end up getting to Black Monday and coaches getting fired, there's usually 6 or 7 jobs a year. Well, the Raiders have been in that category like everybody else for the past 5, 6, 7 years. And the Raiders haven't gotten their first choice of coaches. They haven't. And the last choice, Pete Carroll, wasn't their first choice. They could have took Liam Cohen. They didn't. They took Pete Carroll. I was good with that. Ben Johnson probably would have been a better pick. Ben Johnson didn't want to be here. Okay, that's fair. What happens if the number 1 pick doesn't want to be with the Raiders this year again? What happens if they want Clint Kubiak and Clint Kubiak says, no, I'm going to stay another year in Seattle, and the Raiders wait for other guys to get hired and hired? How quickly does Brady and Spytek have to pull the trigger? I don't know. I don't know what these timelines look like. One of the cool things, Clay, about going to Radio Row for now 30 years is Al Davis would always like to break news at Radio Row. So we'd be at Radio Row, and Al Davis would make an announcement on a coach or do something there to try to get the Raiders, added publicity when the Super Bowl was in a certain town. I don't know if the Raiders have the ability or time to wait all the way to the Super Bowl week, which is the first week in February now. It just got pushed back.
Yeah, you could control the narrative back then because news didn't always flow that way, and everyone loved to break news on a certain special day. Al was great at that. To surprise everybody, and then it would control the narrative through the whole week of Super Bowl.
Yeah. If you can get a week of Super Bowl Radio Row content out of a hire or a day or two, that's pretty cool when you're able to do that. So if you want to get through right now, the topics are simple. Whatever you want to talk about. You want to talk about the number one pick? We got Mendoza going up against Moore on Thursday, which is tomorrow. So Friday's show is going to be a lot about reviewing what we saw from the two quarterbacks. If Dante Moore completely outplays Mendoza, that's going to be different. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I should have a 3-day weekend for that because that's going to be crazy. If Dante Moore comes in and throws for 340, 4 touchdowns, and Mendoza throws 2 pick sixes and loses, everyone in Raider Nation is going to want Dante Moore and they're not going to want Mendoza. That's going to happen if that happens. I don't think that'll happen. I think Mendoza will win the game and play well. But Oregon could win and Mendoza can still play well. So I think every Raider fan should be watching that game tomorrow. Some of the sound that I haven't been able to get to in the last couple of days, I thought Pat McAfee on his show on the Raiders' potential number one pick on Mendoza had the strongest comments that I've heard throughout media in regards to this pick.
Pete Carroll, Tom Brady, spy tech situation out there in Las Vegas. They also have the number one overall pick.
They do. Yep.
So they're going to get Fernando Mendoza, who'll be joining us in about 15 minutes. Raiders fans, just know you can watch the interview that we're about to do with him, a conversation we're about to have with him, or watch film. This guy is a guy that can turn an entire franchise. If they get a couple things right around him, you can become the Chicago Bears. You can become the New England Patriots. You can become the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's why if you don't make any moves after a long time of failure, people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
So that's interesting. They love Mendoza. Now, remember, McAfee's based in Indianapolis, Indiana, for obvious reasons. They watch a lot of the games. McAfee says when he saw the ball came out and watched him play, he's in love with the guy, which is good to know. McAfee played in the NFL. He's got a lot of good things to say about him. That's important that we're able to talk about that. I think that's important going forward on what's going to happen. What's going to happen? Who likes Mendoza more so than others? Now, Todd McShay, who's had bigger platforms when he was at ESPN, but still a respected voice when it comes to the draft, he's talked about the Raiders and what the Raiders' choices are coming up.
With the Raiders, you have an organization steep in history with an owner whose father steep in like entrenched in the great history of the NFL, trying to do the right thing, misguided at times, brings in Tom Brady, who can be a source of helping, although this first go round was not pretty. But how much did Tom I feel like next year with a new coaching staff, as we all presume, Pete Carroll will be out and there will be a new staff. Would you or would you not, as the representation or the representative, the rep for Dante Moore, kind of reach out to the Raiders and say, hey, my client's trying to make a decision. We can live with going to 30 of the 32 teams. Maybe it's 31. I can't allow him to go to the New York Jets. And I realize in 2027, maybe he's the 7th pick or the 5th pick, or maybe he's the first overall pick and the Jets have all that ammo and they can get him there. But I can't allow him to he's got an opportunity to go back to Oregon, probably make the same amount of money that he's going to make in his rookie contract. Phil Knight will make that happen. So I can allow my client to go back to Oregon and have another season with a new offensive coordinator because Will Stein's going to Kentucky, or you can pretty much promise me that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick.
Very interesting content from Todd McShay. Now, the only pushback I'd give on that is that Arch Manning, if he came out this year, if Arch Manning came out this year, I'd take him over Mendoza and Dante Moore because I can't live without Arch Manning. If there's only one chance to get Arch Manning, I'd take him whenever you get him. Next year, Arch Manning is going to go number 1. If Dante Moore doesn't come out this year, he ain't going number 1 over Arch. There's just too many GMs who are going to buy into Arch Manning. Arch Manning doesn't have to have a great career at Texas. You're getting him to have a great career in the NFL. There's been plenty of quarterbacks. Dan Marino didn't win the Heisman. Guys don't have to win the Heisman to have great careers. So Arch Manning, unless he has a catastrophic injury, is going number 1 in next year's draft in 2027. If you're Dante Moore and you can come out in this draft and go number 2, well, next year you're not going to go any higher than number 2. Why not come out now and start your rookie contract? Well, Todd McShay made a good point. Well, what if he doesn't want to play for the Jets? He just said, the Jets, say what you will about the Raiders, and the Raiders have gone through a really tough time here. Really tough. The Jets are a dumpster fire for quarterbacks. The Raiders haven't been able to pick a quarterback. They've been going after Jimmy Garoppolo, Geno Smith, Gardner Minshew. They got Aiden in the 4th round. The Jets have been picking high, man. They've been picking high, and they've been messing up all of this. And their ownership and their coach is a disaster. Would you want to go play for Aaron Glenn? Would you want to go play for Aaron Glenn? I can't believe he isn't fired. And mark my words, if the Jets can get John Harbaugh, they will fire Aaron Glenn. And if the Dolphins can get John Harbaugh, they'll fire Mike McDaniel. So that's interesting. Also, another piece of sound from Max Crosby on the Let's Go podcast with Jim Gray on what Max had to say about Pete Carroll's era coming to an end.
This season didn't go the way we expected it at all. From the players to the coaches, I don't think anybody expected this position to be getting one pick. The one thing I did admire about Pete is he was consistent as they come. He's won for such a long time. He's a Super Bowl champion. He won a national championship at USC. He's been an incredible coach, and he's had an incredible journey. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the way we expected it.
Yeah, how come every Raider fan can't just say what Max said? I've been saying it all year. Didn't work. He's an incredible guy. It didn't work. He's an incredible guy. Goodbye, Pete. I mean, do you have to really just trash the guy on the way out the door? It didn't work. But people, I've said this to many people to their face. I like to talk to people one-on-one. And I've said that Raider Nation never gave Pete Carroll a chance because of Josh McDaniels. That's a fact. And don't ever doubt me, because that's my opinion and I lived it. So your opinion could be different, but this is mine. My opinion. Raider fans never gave Pete Carroll a chance because of Josh McDaniels. That's fact. Josh McDaniels ended so badly that no one wanted to give Pete Carroll the chance he had. The day Pete Carroll started, there were detractors that never should have been detractors. Now, were you right to say that it wouldn't work for Pete Carroll? Yeah, you were right. If you got that right and you're keeping score, you got pelts on the wall. But don't treat Pete Carroll the way you treat Josh McDaniels or you treated others, because Pete Carroll's a legend. It just didn't work out here. So Raider Nation, really the big question today was simple. I tried to keep this kind of in the lane of, do you want to have a older coach such as John Harbaugh? Remember, we got a window here to really push for John Harbaugh if you want to do that. Today, tomorrow would be the day, because I really believe he's going to get hired pretty quickly. Right? Don't you think John Harbaugh, Clay, is going to be hired quickly if he decides to coach? Mm-hmm. He might want to wait and look at TV offers, but I'm assuming the Giants especially, are not going to wait 2 or 3 weeks for John Harbaugh. They're going to try to offer him a deal this week.
I would think so, because for John Harbaugh, I would also be looking at teams that might be in the playoffs right now and get a first-round exit with an embattled coach like Philadelphia. You got to imagine that John Harbaugh, he had this great cushion structure around him in Baltimore because of Hall of Famer Ozzie Newsome. Mm-hmm. And he built this great organization there. And I would have to think John was trying to look to find, all right, I need something similar if I'm going to go in and take on this job in my early 60s.
Yeah, but I got to push back on that. There's no chance that the Bills job or the Eagles job could be in play. I didn't think the Ravens job was going to be in play.
I didn't either.
So there are some people chirping that if Sean McDermott loses this game, that he could be out and you could bring John Harbaugh into Buffalo. Then Harbaugh would move into the new stadium next year, new stadium with Josh Allen. And then Harbaugh could take 2 or 3 shots at the Super Bowl. But McDermott's not going to get fired before the new stadium opens. He's deserving. He's deserving of
both he and Brandon Beane have built this. Yeah. They got to see it through. But that would be a radical change. The whole Harbaugh thing for me right now is kind of unnerving, because I didn't see that coming, because you have so much stability. And don't we at Raider Nation crave stability right now?
Yeah, everybody wants some stability at this point. I'm just wondering out loud, I never expected John Harbaugh to get fired. He didn't deserve to get fired. His kicker missed a kick. You don't fire a guy because your kicker missed a kick. But I think there's a little smoke, and when there's smoke, there's fire. There's something going on with Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. So today, in about 3 hours or less, 4 o'clock Pacific time, I'm doing a live stream with Rod Woodson. Rod's going to have all the answers. Rod's the analyst for the Ravens. Rod's a Hall of Famer. Rod travels on the team plane. Rod's going to have more information than anybody. So please, if you get a chance, subscribe to Lay in the Wood, the podcast there, and give us your opinion on that. And if you don't get a chance to watch the podcast live today, we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow and everything that's happening there. So John Spytek had his press conference. I thought it went well. He told you everything about it, the hard knocks of year one. I thought the key to John Spytek's presser is he took accountability. It wasn't him standing there telling you that Pete Carroll got fired because Pete didn't do it well. He said it was on him too. Excellent moment for John Spytek. He hasn't done many of these press conferences like that, if not any, right? His first one with a coach getting fired as a GM, and he took ownership for that. I thought that was a very important moment in the maturation process of him being a GM. Outstanding there. But other than that, we're looking for your opinion on who should be the coach. And if you want John Harbaugh, you got a window to do that right now at 702-365-9200. When we come back, Herm Edwards will join us. We'll talk to Herm from ESPN. Wonder what he thinks of all these coaches getting blown out. He got fired. He had some really good teams. He had a Jet team that was 2 missed field goals away from going to the AFC Championship game. What happens when you're a coach on the hot seat and then you don't get a call back? Herm Edwards will join us next. Thanks, everybody. I'm out. Rod Woodson podcast, Lay in the Wood. Please subscribe, Lay in the Wood. We got 500 people here. We should have 500 new people on this podcast. Lay in the Wood with Rod Woodson. Please make sure you subscribe for that if you can. Appreciate y'all, as my son says. Thanks.